I'm curious, because you speak about human consciousness and like through your artwork, you like break the boundaries. It's have you ever been influenced by like psychedelics?
Yeah.
Have you ever tried? Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, you know, a little bit recently, like maybe last year,
Yeah.
I had a pretty crazy experience, but also I think more importantly, like when I was like, I don't know, like a teenager, I did mushrooms in Central Park and had headphones on, and I don't know, nature, that's why I keep emphasizing, like nature is like a style cheat sheet. Nature has all the little fucking connectors that you want to do and textures and 3Ds, like it knows it. It's got it, you know? And I think that just like I like mushrooms. I think mushrooms in nature did a lot for me, like at a young age.
Yeah.
And I'm very sparing with it. Like honestly, I feel like very grateful to be grounded. Sometimes I feel like I'll bite off a thought that's more than I can chew, and I get a little like, oh shit, let me, like, are my feet on the ground? And so I'm very, very cautious with like, not, I don't regularly take any drugs other than smoking weed. And I'm like probably more of a pussy about it than most people, because I'm like, but I know their value.
Mm-hmm.
I just know to like, I'm like almost like in awe of the power, and don't want to like get too close to it. You know?
Yeah, psychedelics are an interesting thing. It's like when I was growing up in high school, like the only thing I would dabble with was weed, you know, and I never thought like ever would I try anything else other than that, especially something as like psychedelics, because their reputation is, you know, like you're gonna bug out, you're gonna jump out a window, they're too much, you know, too much to handle. And I actually never even planned on doing it, and then I ended up trying LSD once, and then like mushrooms, and you know, it's crazy to think that a substance outside of yourself, you can say, oh, because of that, you know, it like changed my life or made me think for the better, or break out of certain boundaries, you know, to rely on like a substance, because you know, substance can mean like addiction or abuse or a negative you know, connotation to it. But I think mushrooms, like you said, are like, they're powerful, you know, and I had to ask, because I also see the value in them, and through your artwork, through like your color schemes, like it makes no sense to me. I know that like a regular art school did not just teach that. I know that's something in the mindset of the consciousness that like portrays that.
Well, color is one of the craziest things that there is. Color bugs me out. Like I'll like the light spectrum that we can see, it goes from like below what we can see is in the, well, I might be getting this completely wrong, but I don't care. There's infrared, and then there's ultraviolet. Those are like at the ends. I'm pretty sure like what infrared is like the vibrations that are lower than what we can pick up visually, and ultraviolet is like the higher end of the spectrum. And when I'm thinking about color, so pretty much we can see this section of a line of electromagnetic
we can see
waves.
Like this much.
Yeah, we can, and then it goes on in either direction. But the part that trips me up is you have this line that, if as a painter, right? If I'm going from the yellows or the oranges down towards the reds, and you get past red, you're going back into violet is where you're going, and then heading back to purple if you were on a color wheel. And if you're in the other direction, you get up to ultraviolet, but you're coming from like green to blue to purple to violet, you're going to end up at red. So our section of this line has the courtesy to pick you up to drop you back off where it picked you up at. And that's a weird one to me. Like, that's like pretty fucking crazy. And even I learned very recently that in painting, it's red, blue, yellow are the primary colors, but in light, it's red, green, and yellow are the primary colors, because that's why a printer is CMYK is cyan, or however you say it, magenta and yellow, which are the secondaries of light. You mix red and green make yellow. So like a red light bulb and a green light bulb would make a yellow light. Like it's completely different. So you think you know about this shit, and then you're like, damn, no, that's not it at all. But back to substances too. I had this funny thought one day that like they're a lot like what they look like. They're a lot they do something similar to what they look like. Like weed is sticky and kind of slows you down, but like when you're breaking it up, like yeah, that's kind of what it feels like it would do, even if you never did it. And alcohol is like, I don't know, less dense than water. It's like really like it loosens you up. Looks like it would do that, you know? And I just feel I just always thought that was funny. Like shit kind of like looks like what it's gonna do to you.
So you don't do mushrooms at all anymore?
My girl's been microdosing. She tries to get me to do them a little bit. I'm just like, man, like I don't know. It's just so fucking intense. Yeah. Like I'm just like grateful to like be not shot out. You know what I mean? Just like try and keep my mind and my body the best I can. But one of the cool things that I learned recently too about it's only true about LSD and mushrooms and DMT. I recently, this is all like COVID rabbit hole, like stuck in my apartment, you know, like there's this awesome dude named Roger Penrose, who I think is Merlin reincarnated. And then he's a mathematician. He's like brilliant dude. He was Stephen Hawking's thesis advisor. And he works with this guy named Stuart Hameroff, who's an anesthesiologist. And they came up with the theory of consciousness. And the anesthesiologist, the dude is like, he's amazing. And he was like, oh, when I put people under, it turns them off. So what's that? There you go. That's where consciousness is, because I just shut it off on this person. And they still have brain activity because it goes up and down the spine, so they can make sure that like they're not severing your, you know, you're not going to lose feeling in your leg forever. And the same thing that turns off under anesthesia is for DMT, LSD, and psilocybin. It's a frequency, actually. They can see it on the EEG machine, and it flattens it for anesthesia, a frequency, and it doubles the height of the peak when you take those drugs. So there you go. It's not necessarily like, it's actually getting you, consciousness is vibration, frequency, and it gets you more in touch with that frequency. It's not like a later in the game brain activity, you know? It's like right there as perception happens. So that's cool. All this stuff relates to art. That's why I'm interested in it. Yeah, of course.
But then you were saying how you don't do DMT or any of these things, mushrooms and stuff like that too often because you don't want to, you essentially said kind of like lose your mind. So my question, like it's kind of weird because, you know, like you said, the DMT, it raises the whatever it is that they're measuring that they equate to consciousness. But so then if you have too much of that too often, then you lose your mind. But what you're having is too much consciousness.
Well, yeah, we limit our perception.
Mm-hmm.
Our brains do it for us because you can't handle it. You can't handle it, man. It's the whole everything all at once. All like. You're not meant to, I look at it like a camera aperture. Like this is how wide this thing opens. Like once it's, you know, and it's like, if you're like intaking too much, you can't keep yourself grounded. It's impossible to. So it's, I think it's important to like, if you want to elevate yourself as a human being, it's not just like, you don't just shoot yourself up into outer space. You fall back down onto the ground. You have to keep your feet on the ground and work your way up and get taller and taller and taller while your feet are on the ground. So I think that for me, I don't want to go crazy, but I want to see what's right on the other edge of that cliff. So I take everything super fucking slow and very carefully, and I try and like get to the bottom of things.
Yeah, I've never heard about that. The mushrooms and the psilocybin, DMT, LSD, the ones that you named, doing that.
Stuart Hameroff, I'm telling you.
I'm gonna look it up.
Genius dude, man. He's got lots of lectures. It's awesome.
You said that they came up with a theory of consciousness. What do you mean by that?
It's called OR.
But that's like they called it the theory of consciousness.
It is. It's more than a theory of consciousness. It's a theory that combines. I went back to like learn about like some of this kooky quantum physics shit and stuff that just sounded cool to me, and I realized that I know nothing about it. Like last thing I remembered like from science class was like an atom and a neutron. But like when they break it down to where we're at now in the scientific understanding, as far as what I can keep up with, like observation affects whether something is in a wave or as a particle, which is like, it sounds crazy. It's not crazy. We don't know what the future is until we get there, and then there it is. That's the future. It sounds very intuitive to me. I really like it. And then these people are able to kind of connect this dead end that happens in physics, where they're like, what the fuck does what is consciousness and observation doing affecting states of matter? Is very weird. And then in the world of consciousness, the study of consciousness, there's AI people that swore that just because a computer can beat a person at chess, that they were going to become conscious sentient beings, and it just doesn't happen. They always miss their goalposts. And so there's these two dead ends, and these really smart people I'm not even going to attempt to explain it, but they explain it this is why then from hearing all this, my head goes to like, so there's like consciousness and the material world and the relationship between those two things, and we find ourselves kind of as intermediaries, and then that affects just my basic like outlook throughout the day. And none of this has made it into the art yet. This is all just like, it needs to get there, I'm still stuck on like, I don't know, like this, like somebody bombed somebody else,
Worldly
like
problems.
Not that that's not important, but I'm
yeah.
like slowly like, I think one of the things I've come to terms with is that like the man versus man shit is almost like we should be keeping track of it. If someone's killing their population, it's not to like, oh fuck it, man, shit goes down in the world. Like I want to know names, But at the end of the day, there's a lot of fucked up shit that happens, and then there's a lot of crazy breakthroughs that happen too of human understanding. Like I started thinking like, damn, if the world's gonna be this fucked up, I want to know things so that at least something good happened.
Yeah. What books did you read about quantum physics?
I just watched YouTube, man.
Okay.
There's like a PBS has something called Space Time. It's just some dude that like talks, and I watch that. I just leave it on in my studio while I'm painting, and like I'll listen to music and I'll listen to that shit. And most of the time I have to like play it like 3 times, like a single episode, just to get like a little bit of it, because I'm not, my head's not there. But I like that, man. I like that more than like, art.